Yesterday we had the first of two parts of Digitise or Disappear with Kristine Khouri and Sabih Ahmed. Today we're continuing the third part. We'll be hearing first from Ruba Saleh, who is a collections manager and researcher at the Palestinian Museum, and then from Joanne Lisinski, head of research at the Mathaf, the Arab Museum of Modern Art. And after that, there will be a discussion which will be led by Sabih and Kristine. Ruba, please.
Good evening, everybody. It's a great honor to be today here at the Global Art Forum, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the Palestinian Museum. So the Palestinian Museum is a flagship project of the Welfare Association. It started as an idea of the board of members in 1997 to create a kind of museum of memory of the Palestinian Nakba, the catastrophe which happened in 1948, where Palestinians were dispersed and displaced. But later on, and after the second Intifada, there was a second thought, and people started thinking about how Palestinians should be perceived and who are the Palestinians. And it was then when board members and other Palestinian intellectuals started dialoguing and opened the discussion about the fact that the Palestinian history and culture doesn't stick to one event. It started before and it will continue in the future. And it was only then when they decided that there should be a museum about the Palestinians, which can narrate their history and culture from a Palestinian perspective. So the drawing started and the project was divided into phases. The first phase is now under construction in Birzeit in Ramallah, near Ramallah. This picture was done to give an idea about what the museum will be, and it was taken in 2013. 2 weeks ago, the museum, where you can see where we are now. The second phase will take will start in 2025, and it will be hosting much more facilities, and much more staff will be on board. I would like just to give a glimpse about what kind of projects and activities we're having now at the museum. Although we don't have our permanent building until today, we have a temporary office in Ramallah where we're executing a number of projects, and exhibits were done in the last few months. The first one is our inaugural exhibition, Never Part, which will be inaugurated in April 2016. And it's an attempt to narrate the contemporary Palestinian identity by collecting oral history from Palestinians from all over the world. Currently, we have 251 interviews from Palestine, which means Gaza, West Bank, and 48 areas, plus Palestinians from the diaspora. Another project is the Family Album, where we're collecting individual archives from Palestinians. Currently, we started from the West Bank, but it will be expanded to the diaspora also starting from next year. We're developing together with the Jumana and Visualizing Impact the Palestine Timeline Project, which is a chronology of unfolding events of the Palestinian history, touching upon cultural, socio-economical, and anthropological history of Palestine from the 19th century until today. One of the most important aspects of the Palestinian Museum is the idea of moving towards partnerships outside of Palestine, also because of the fact that the majority of the diaspora cannot enter Palestine. Therefore, our exhibits will be like moving every 6 months to different destinations in the world. Until today, we managed to establish connections, as you see, with a number of cities in the world. And we're hoping also to elaborate and to expand further in the future. Our second exhibition will be about Malak al-Husseini and its great work on the Palestinian embroidery, and it will take place in Beirut. The third exhibition will touch upon how Palestine was perceived and represented elsewhere in the world. And we just started the preliminary research now. I want to take your attention for a few minutes to talk about our experience during Qalandia International, which is a biennial art manifestation in Palestine, which had the theme of archives this year. And we thought about like documenting a living archive. And that's why we decided of doing a scan or mapping the Palestinian existing museums or whatever museums touched upon the theme of Palestine. So we found that there are 56 museums, 51 of them are inside Palestine, and 4 are abroad. The most interesting thing is that the majority of these museums are like collected and curated by individuals, by also individual funds. It was an, let's say, stunning experience and an unfolding event for the audience of Qalandia International to see the richness and the number of Palestinian museums dealing with different kinds of themes. Also because the idea of the public was like the Palestinian museums are places of mummified objects full of dust where nobody goes. But this experience tried to show the wealth in this attempt to document or actually to construct a social collective narrative of what is Palestine and what is the Palestinian history. The main challenges we faced, or we noticed that these museums are facing, are connected to the fact of lack of funds, inadequacy of buildings and lack of restoration, inadequacy of proper storage practices and trained staff, the difficulty of recruiting international or professional, even Palestinian staff from abroad because of the restrictions, the Israeli restrictions on them coming in and out. And the fact, the major actually problem is the fact of the lack of a network or a museum's platform open to dialogue and to exchange of experiences. That's why we thought of playing the role of a leading institution in the field of training and of creating like a kind of this missing platform of discourse and exchange. And in 2014, we conducted 4 training workshops together with the Goethe Institute. And we're actually conducting 3 more this year, covering a number of important issues and themes relevant to all of these museums.
It was inaugurated by Dr. Nada Shabut, which was an encyclopedia for modern art in the Arab world. The idea initially really came from Sheikh Hassan bin Mohammed bin Ali Al Thani, who really wanted to share the knowledge that he had gained through purchasing of these artworks, and he wanted to make that available to Arabs in the region. So now we're in 2015. We've now managed to just bring this project online. It's fully online in English and in Arabic. But as you'll soon see, we did have some challenges. So the encyclopedia is bilingual. It's free, it's online, it's peer-reviewed, scholarly. We have some fantastic researchers who actually work with us. To name a few, Salim Al-Bahloli, Emma Chubb, Claire Davies, who's just got a position at the Metropolitan Museum as a curator. Tiffany Floyd, Sonia Merchadatasi, Holiday Powers, Nadia Adwan, Sarah Rogers, Kirsten Sheed, Alexandra Segerman, Tina Sherwell. So we are really trying to reach out to scholars, graduate students who are familiar with the Arab art history, who are familiar with our collection, and who can really initiate these biographies of artists from our collection. So this is the homepage. The encyclopedia is fully developed on SharePoint. We are quite lucky at Mathaf that we do fall under the Qatar Museums Authority, which has an IT department. So after several conversations with the IT department, they advised us that this is the best solution we can offer you, which is on SharePoint. It's like an online repository. And this is the Arabic. So I've just pasted in one of the biographies for you. So this is a biography, one of the most recent ones, which was completed for Yusuf Ahmed, a Qatari artist. A lot of work goes into producing one biography. I mean, Yusuf Ahmed is based in Qatar and he's still alive, so we were able to contact him to verify a lot of information. We do have strict contributor guidelines, which all of the authors need to adhere to. And this is just to maintain the consistency between all of the biographies and make sure areas are not uncovered in some bios. So we have, you're not going to be able to read any of that, but you can have a look on your mobile phones. So we've got the biography, a list of exhibitions, solo exhibitions, group exhibitions, awards, bibliography in English and in Arabic. Photographs from Mathaf's collection, not just Mathaf's collection, but also other institutions that we've reached out to. Barjil has been fantastic. Thank you, Sultan. We do have some images from Barjil, from the Cairo Museum, from the Darat al-Funun. I could list more, but you guys can have a look into it. We also have personal photographs. Copies of books, which they've, so either exhibition catalogues or books that they've published about themselves or books that, which they're mentioned in, and videos. We've also launched an essay section. At the moment, we only have essays which have been published in Mathaf's publications. These essays are available in English and in Arabic. And just down here is an essay from Forever Now, which was written by Dr. Nadia Shabut. Now that we've developed this essay section, we're hoping to also launch a repository, a subject-based repository for scholars who are working with us and other scholars to reposit their own scholarly work. So whether it's a manuscript, a journal entry, a chapter from a book, we would like to encourage these scholars to use this as a platform to make their work accessible, citable, searchable, indexed, and keyworded, and then also relating to the biographies which we've written. This is just a glimpse of some problems not problems, but challenges that we face. Some very basic challenges, such as the artist's name. there are so many variations of the artist's name. So for example, Faik Hassan, are you going to spell it with a F-A-E-K, and F-A-E-Q, and F-I-Q, F-A-I-Q? And are you going to include his family's name, Al-Janabi? So as an institution, we have to decide how it is that we're going to consistently name our artists. And all of these are discussed with the scholars that work with us, and they're also discussed amongst people like Nada Shabut, Saleh Hassan, Salou Mikdadi. So we mention the name that we've decided to use as an institution, but then we also mention all of the other alternatives. So if you are going to do some further research online, please search using those names, because you will find other search results. Another challenge that we have is the dates of birth. There are a lot of Iraqi artists who were born on the 1st of January. So we've really tried to go out of our way to contact family members, directors of museums and institutions. They're not that responsive, but when they are, they do provide us with fantastic information. So we are sort of trying to, going beyond what's already available and asking our family members and individuals to verify days, months, and years of birth, and also cities. And they're also providing us sometimes how they passed away, which sometimes is a bit graphic, and we don't really want to include that. But, it's always, we have some information if you're interested in further research in that. Suleiman Mansour, his name has been spelt Suleiman, but we managed to contact him ourselves, and he said he preferred to have his name spelt like that. So the encyclopedia is for art historians, for researchers, for scholars, for university students, for art professionals, for translators, seeking information on techniques, on artworks from our collection, other collections, terminologies, and also one of our most important projects is an art glossary. So through our exhibitions and our publications, we have compiled an extensive list of artistic terms in English, and then also translated them to Arabic, which makes the encyclopedia completely searchable in both English and Arabic through these keywords. I have that document in an Excel form, which I can show you later. There is over about 600 terms. So, of course, this project wouldn't be possible without our funders, our patrons, so Sheikh Hassan bin Mohammed bin Ali Al Thani, and the Qatar Museums Authority, Mathaf, and the researchers, authors, editors, translators, the web and IT teams, the design, people who provide us with supporting material, and the institutional and individual contributions. So I really am speaking on behalf of a huge community of people. The encyclopedia is a work in progress. At the moment, we have about 35 biographies. Some people say this is ridiculous. You should already have 150 at least up by now. But it's a very long and timely process. Each biography takes the author requires a lot of time to write it. It needs to be edited, it needs to be peer reviewed, it needs to be edited again, it needs to be translated, it needs to be edited again. Then we have to go and find all the supporting material, get all the copyrights for the images, contact institutions if they have artworks that they would like to contribute. For example, now we've been waiting for 3 months to upload Paul Gorgasian's biography, but Manuela Gorgasian is very busy at the moment, and she's unable to provide us with copyrights for any of the images, so that's on hold for the time being. So there are a lot of delays, so it is a work in progress. We are hopefully aiming towards writing biographies for all of the artists in our collection. We have over 1,000 artists, so it's a massive feat, and it's going to take a very long time and a dedicated team. And then in subsequent phases, we would like to include artists beyond our collection, and also continue working on the essays and the repository. We are also working towards a visitor feedback form, so whenever you access the encyclopedia, if you find an error, click feedback form. You can say exactly what it is that you're trying to correct, whether it's data, whether it's content, whether it's translation, whether it's copyrights, whether it's a fake. And that's all processed online. It will go through an administrator, which at the moment is myself, and then I would escalate it to an expert and then to Mathaf's director if necessary. So that's hopefully all going to be online. Also, we're automating the iconography request, so if there's an image from Mathaf's collection that you're interested in, you can complete that request, and the collections team will manage that for you. The subject-based repository, which I spoke about, which will, sorry I didn't mention, we're also hoping to put conference proceedings and PowerPoints as well. This is just a quote that I wanted to pull from Ibraz, from Nada Shabut. Pre-modern and modern archives are seemingly not available or accessible in the Middle East, which misleadingly presents the contemporary as rootless and inferior, and consequently heightens the question of identity in the region. Archives thus have the ability to open up new and liminal spaces of possibilities, readings, interpretations, and constructions. For example, understanding the historical context of the modern moment in the Middle East is possibly capable of resolving the notion of belatedness in modern art. These are just some of the documents that were sent to us from Atta Sabari's family. So we have his ID, passport. There's a postcard from Rafa Al Nasiri, who sent that to him from Portugal. Yes, interesting stuff that you can have a look at. How much time do I have? 2 minutes? Okay. There's a few points here that I wanted to bring out, but I think a lot of them we can talk about in there. But basically one of the ambitions of this project is to really move, shift a long-established place of knowledge production from the traditional Euro-American centres to the Arab world. We really want Mathaf to be generating art from its collection from the Arab world, in English and in Arabic. Just very briefly, the technology behind. The challenges: time, effort, the technology, copyrights, lack of information, incorrect information, there's a lot of it out there. Locating collections and sourcing supporting material, translation, glossaries and terminologies, and trust. A lot of the material we have in Encyclopedia is built on trust between the individual and institution, support and criticism. Thank you. That's all.